eventually I met Brian Surf, Berserker, and learned glass in his shop when he was really just building it. I was able to build my bench, and so like a long tradition of building your kind of studio before you start working.
What up, y'all? I'm Steve, and welcome to another exciting Elev8, where we sit down with some cool ass artists in this industry. First, we have this really cool ambassador program. You can join as an Elev8 doll or an Elev8 gent, and it's really awesome. You get to help us build Elev8. It's super unique, super special, and you're really a part of something special. Check out Elev8ambassador.com to learn more. Another cool thing we have is our Elev8 Veterans program. I'm really honored to be a part of it. Teresa helps run it, and it's super awesome. We get to rehabilitate and reacclimate veterans into society our way. And you know what? I think we're doing it right. Go check it out at Elev8veterans.com. Third, there's Elev8 Bingo. It's super cool, super fun, and we get to show you more of what we do. And on top of that, every game there's a chance to win $50 credits for Elev8glassgallery.com. Go check it out. And now, let's roll into this super awesome Elev8. All right, welcome to Elev8. We got Surf Rat Glass here today. Thank you so much for joining, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, right on, man. I'm stoked to be here.
So, man, my first question is, how did you get into blowing glass? You're doing something a little bit different than a lot of the blowers that I talk to. And yeah, how did you get into this crazy, wonderful world of glass?
Well, I think for me, it kind of started before glass. I was just really into making. So, grew up, my mom was an artist and my dad built snowcats. I grew up here in Colorado.
The machines, snowcat machines?
Yep, snowcat machines and stuff. And I started snowboarding from a really young age. And so I was really into making stuff and adventure and things like that. And really, like, honestly, the first time I ever melted glass was with my mom. She broke a bottle apart and she had like a blowtorch, like a little, one of the fuel canister ones. And she's like, check it out. You can grab it with pliers and melt this. And I was like 10 years old. I was like, wow. All right, mom, go for it. And that was before I ever saw lamp working or really ever knew about glass art. But then soon after that, in my like middle school art classes, I really got into ceramics and did a lot of pottery, got into glaze calculation.
Middle school had ceramics in it?
Yeah, it was really cool. And honestly, my teacher had some health problems halfway through. And so I was the assistant in like middle school and high school art class, like loading the kiln, running the kiln, doing a lot of that stuff. And I was also in shop class. And the really cool thing about me loading and running the kiln is that I could make pipes and I could fire them. And so like before it was glass, it was making stuff. And when it was making stuff, oh, you there?
Yeah. Hey, Bender, can you come take a look at this? I disappeared and now I'm back.
All right, we're back. Yeah. So like before it was glass pipes, it was still pipes and it was making stuff. And I was making pipes in shop class too, man. Like, and I was making pipes at home with things I could find from the hardware store. Like there were a lot of pipes being made before glass. But so yeah, I went through and graduated from high school, worked at like through restaurants and Starbucks and coffee shops and different stuff like that. I was obsessed with coffee as a kid. And then went to school and I wanted to really not have to work a real job. They'll let me in like 2 days before it starts. I'm just going to do this. And I was really into the art. I was already going to like college art classes in Breckenridge, also making pipes and other things, making vessels, making all sorts of stuff. But so halfway through going to school up in Gunnison, I really wanted to learn glass blowing and nobody was really teaching it at the time. Eli Aller was up there in near Crested Butte, and he had a big shop. It was actually a really big shop for the time, really pretty heavy shop.
And about what year was this?
It was about 98.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was going to school and just really kept asking around. I asked Eli if I could learn from them, and they were full and whatever, and so just kept asking around. And eventually I met Brian Surf, Berserker, and learned glass in his shop when he was really just building it. I was able to build my bench. And so like a long tradition of building your kind of studio before you start working. And, did that, and I was going to school and learning a bunch of different mediums at the time. I was already a bachelor's in fine arts for ceramics, and I was doing metal sculpture, and I was let's see, I was also doing like airbrush and painting and figure drawing, all this stuff. So it's like I was really into learning, and he really wasn't. He didn't feel he was at the stage to teach just yet. So it worked out good because I could watch and pick it up, and
Because he
the
was still
fundamentals were
early.
there enough.
He was still early on in the game at that time, like 98.
Yeah, he was
You're old
98,
school.
99, like right around there. He was like a year or so in, and really, there were books though, and so I got the contemporary lampworking books, and that really like laid it out pretty well. And there was Glasscraft here, so that was pretty handy. Made a big order to Glasscraft and got a torch and stuff. So within like 6 months, I basically took my student loan check and I spent it on a whole glassblowing thing. So I had no way to pay rent for the rest of the semester, but I had a whole glassblowing set up. And basically from then on, I had to, within 2 weeks, I was bringing pipes to head shops and to the bar. And
well, you had
anywhere
to
I
make
could.
that money back now to pay rent, or you'd be homeless, right?
Yeah, right away. And I was already going to school full time, but I had to like make enough money off my pipes to at least, because that student loan check was gone. So,
So
that was what I was doing. I started with inside out because I really loved inside out work, and that's what Brian Cirk was doing, and a lot of like little bottles and little pipes.
Right, the inside out, I think that's what got me too. Was like, how did they get the color in there? How did they get it in there? And so you also probably were doing a lot of fuming at the beginning as well.
Fuming and color work, that was right away. I kind of discovered like the OG moss and some of those colors, and really liked that shimmer. And what I really liked about Boro was inside out, because I didn't see that in soft glass, and that like 3-dimension part and the fuming incorporated. Brian Cirk was already really good at fuming, so right away there was some fuming to learn from him, and he had a Carlisle, so he could fume. Like that was a big advantage in being able to fume with that pre-mixed torch and work it in. And he was making bubblers right away too, so it was cool to see.
Well, it's really neat because even your cups you make today, they still are using silver fuming and for color changing, and it's one of the OG things, and it's still like fresh and clean still to this day.
Yeah, I do a little bit of fuming. I definitely, like, throughout my career, I've utilized fuming a lot, even with my road trip work, which I did before the cups, quite a bit of different fuming and stuff in there to show like sunrise scenes and things like that. And I've done a lot of like heavy gold fume on things, which I've always loved fuming gold. And a lot of my banger mugs, I do a 22 karat gold fume on the base and things like that. So.
Yeah. So since you were at the beginning, starting out, pushing your pipes just to pay rent, is that when you pretty much made the full transition to being a glass blower, and you've been pushing that ever since?
So for 2 years, I finished school, and I was like, kind of about 3 days a week blowing glass, and
while
still
you were
doing ceramics. Yep. But I just knew that like I had built up the equipment to be a glass artist, but to do ceramics as well was going to take a lot more time. And honestly, to pay rent working ceramics is not going to be easy. So right away so from like 99 to 2000, that was like a weird New Year's thing. I don't know if you remember everybody thought all the computers were going to go offline and stuff. And so I took a big trip out to Canada, and I went up to Vancouver, BC, and went to a bunch of cool parties, and you could like smoke in the head shops and things like that. And I went up there and I was like, well, who are your local glass blowers? And they were like, nobody. And I was like, really? There's all this culture up here and there's no glass blowers. And they're like, well, there was one guy and he left. And, at the time there were some other glass artists, but the person at the head shop didn't really know, but there weren't a lot. Mm-hmm. And so when I graduated from school, the summer before 9/11, I was like, going up to the Pacific Northwest, I really want to be near the ocean, by the waves. And like, I was doing a lot of sea life sculptures at the time, like for my like school show at the end of school and stuff. I did a bunch of integrating ceramics and glass.
Oh, wow.
And the show was called Sex Sells. And since I was so into the sea life stuff, I decided to, well, I wanted to live near the ocean regardless. And Vancouver was a really cool spot since I had been up there. Basically,
That's a beautiful place.
Yeah, I drove up to Bellingham and I was like, I wonder if they'll let me through the border. And they did. And I went up there and I lived as a tourist for a while. So
I love it. Because now I don't think it's as easy to get up there
no.
after 9/11, and then especially with COVID, like just crossing our northern borders, it's more difficult.
Way more difficult, honestly. Like things on computers now, nothing was on computers then. And so I still couldn't drive across the border much. But Canada was really welcoming. Everybody there was super nice. Like I was able to work in shops, and they had a nice distributor there that had just gotten set up, that had Cymax and all the colors and stuff. And that was cool. Actually, for a few years, there wasn't that much color. We were going to the science shops, and I was driving down to Bellingham, but obviously Bellingham was a hotbed right at that moment. Like I from Nebula Glass was doing big things with them, just getting going. I'd heard about this, like the legend that was Scott Deppy up there too, and I see his marbles and stuff, and it's like, wow, he was doing big Reticello vortex marbles and obviously some pipes at the time. So that was neat.
Man. Have you had any mentors or anything going throughout your career? I mean, you've really been here a long time. Sounds like you met Berserker.
Yeah, Berserker was definitely, like, I mean, not only did I learn some of the fundamentals from him, he was a mentor. And then as I was up in Canada, I eventually got a shop with another American expat that was up there and a Canadian, and the American was a marble slinger. So yeah, it was cool, right? And then Hippo Glass was the Canadian. He'd lived in Vancouver his whole life, super cool dude, did a lot of fuming and stuff. So he was kind of like, he was our rock. He helped us out and helped us get all set up. We got set up in this building called the Arc. It was the Artist Resource Center, and they would let you do whatever you want in these apartments. They were like, they had really thick concrete walls, and they had like a service elevator to bring oxygen up and down. It was cool, but it was in a rough part of town, like Vancouver. So Vancouver, West Vancouver is the richest part of Canada, and East Vancouver is the poorest part of Canada.
Isn't it
right
funny,
in the middle,
like, it's always like that. It's always like right next to each other.
Yeah, right in the middle was the pot block. And so like if you went too far east, it was like really bad stuff and bad crime. And if you went the other way, it was like downtown stuff. And there was honestly like a group of professional wrestlers that kept the pot block clean. And they kept all the like transients and stuff out of there. And that's how they had Blunt Brothers, which was the shop that was up there.
Oh, wow.
A bunch of different really cool shops that were in that area. So yeah, it was a really interesting time to be up there. It was really cool. It was weird. I mean, like, I remember I sold a bunch of glass right before 9/11, and then right as 9/11 hit, it was like a real big economic downturn. Americans stopped going up there. And it was really hard to sell a pipe over like $60 to a shop in Canada, because right now, I mean, they have a big collector base now, but they didn't yet at that time. And there were less Americans coming over the border, and Americans were buying headies. By the time I moved up there, I was really into selling like $100 dry pipe wholesale, and it was selling for 200 or whatever. And it had reversals in it, some dichro, inside out.
So you've done a lot of production work in your life, just producing.
Yeah, I've always like shot for like the higher end of production, and a lot of Sherlocks, a lot of high-end chillums. And right away I was doing cups and goblets too. Like every time I would do an inside out thing, I would blow a goblet top and then draw inside out in it and close it down. So hundreds and hundreds of practice of like making cup tops. And with my ceramics, I was always making vessels. I was making teacup sets. I was making mugs and bowls and all sorts of different like vessel work. So
do you find that learning the ceramics, you were able to bring some techniques into glass blowing that maybe a typical artist that hadn't been in ceramics was able to bring?
Probably not at the time because I was really there's so much to learn with glass. But I had color theory, I had like shapes and lines and things like that. And what I had was the concept or like the passion for skill stacking. So stacking one skill and then learning another skill and then learning another skill. And that's what's been really good for me in my career now is like, obviously I'm working harder at my videos, my production values, my editing, concepts, conceptualizing and following through with that. And now like my internet marketing and sales and things like that. So it's just keeping stacking, keeping learning and trying to grow my business and try and like take some of the pain out of it of being an individual artist or an independent artist. So
right, because you mentioned that you're doing the video, which your videos are killer, by the way. And so it's not just being an artist where you get to just make your shit and enjoy it. There's so much to it, and your experience at the beginning selling the pipes. But man, it's a hustle, and now you're marketing, doing all that stuff. So good luck with that because it ain't easy. It's hard work. And
yeah, man, forever glass. There's so many things to learn with glass. I would keep myself entertained and try and learn one new thing every day. And so like I would make my 10 pieces or whatever I could, and then I would learn one new thing about glass every day. And that's how I kept myself entertained for like 10, 15 years, right? Because I've been doing it for 22 years. And eventually I was like, wait a second. I'm confusing my collector base. Because every time I'm doing one new thing, it's something different that they think it's another artist every time.
Because it's totally new.
One thing that I kind of totally different. And so I still like to bring new things into my work, but I've been doing things like, I do a signature stamp on everything and I try and keep it really visible.
It's so clean, man. Your work is so clean.
Thanks. It's super important for me for people to know who made it forever. And tie signatures are great, but that can be mimicked and it can't rub off, but it can be hard to read and whatever. My handwriting's not the greatest. I wasn't tie signing everything. I didn't really have tie signatures a long time ago. And so I've been trying to really sign each of my pieces and have the signature visible in the videos because that's like a trademark stamp of sorts.
Mm-hmm. How long did that take
you? A big thing for me. And so like just not confusing my audience.
How long did that take you to really realize that you needed to be you rather than just being this free love artist, but you really needed to start focusing on you and building you as a brand? How many years did that take?
And I think it probably took me like, I started doing the road trips, I'd say 5 years ago. So it probably took, 15 to 17 years. It took a long time to learn that. And I was still like, I was putting stuff on glasspipes.org, artists and stuff. And I did some neat pieces and I was doing political type work and all sorts of stuff, but still like changing it up all the time where I didn't really feel people could like look at something and be like, that's you. So I was still trying something new all the time. And so, yeah, it's just, and then now with the cups, it's been a whirlwind really. I went almost all cups about a year and a half ago. I needed to make a shift. I was doing road trip pendants. I've been doing pendants for like 5 years, like little road scenes, which is super fun, but it was hurting my back, like doing the finite drawing and like kind of just, arching over the torch and being in there. And so I really decided that I wanted to do bigger stuff and I wanted to work on a lathe. And so I bought a one-sided lathe in my house. And then I also worked at Big Z's glass shop and used a lathe there. So
nice.
Using a lathe has been a game changer for me. I'm able to work big glass, which I've always liked doing, way nicer than I can by hand. And it doesn't hurt my back and it doesn't give me as much of a torch tan and it doesn't burn my face as much, still does, but it's been a game changer for me. And it's a lot like working on the potter's wheel. So
all right, okay.
It really translates for me. It's just a potter's wheel turned on its side that you can blow into.
Right. So there was something I asked you earlier, if something translated into it. So it just took almost 20 years to translate into the lathe? Because you only started working the lathe, you said maybe a few years ago.
Yeah, probably only about a year now working on the lathe. So I wish I had done it early. You know, I worked on the lathe a little bit here and there, and I was like, "Ooh, I like this. Like, I'm catching it onto it really quick. Like, I could make like a water pipe really fast on one right away." And I was doing some vac stacks and other things, and it took, you know, I didn't really know about Bunsen's and other things, so I had some exciting times. But it just, like, the investment and all that stuff, that was a hindering part to getting on a lathe, and I wish I had done it sooner.
Right. You mentioned a Bunsen burner, and I find that, you know, like you said, you didn't have one for however long. I find that to be almost one of the most important tools now, for building anything complicated or anything. It's just, it's so simple and yet so remarkable. Do you find
Yeah,
that?
Bunsen's have gotten a lot. Yeah, they seem to be, they're used a lot more, and they're super important for things. It's nice to keep it up to temp so that when you go to heat it up, it takes less time too.
I love a Bunsen burner. I don't know who found it or how it got into this industry, but thank goodness for it, because they're awesome.
Right. Well, I think if you follow it back, like, Bunsen's originally were in scientific work to heat their flasks and things, and I think they were using them on the lathe. You know, Psy guys did it first for a long time. Before the Psy guys, there were the Egyptians, but the Psy guys have done it first.
Right, and it just took a while to find this, because a ground joint at one time, it was new to this industry, but like you said, it was just a joint and scientific for nearly 100 years, and then all of a sudden Rohr came out with it and was like, ground glass joint, and that was neat.
Yep. Yeah, no, yeah, Rohr did a lot of cool stuff. I went out to Germany and worked with them. So I'm turning 45 this year, in September, but for my 40th birthday, so 5 years ago, I went out and worked with Rohr. You can see, I don't know if you can see it here, but there's a thing called DOS pedal.
Yeah.
And like I said, I like inventing stuff. So I actually created, about 10 years ago, I created a pedal for the Herbert Arnold torch. I work on GTTs and Herbert Arnolds, but I really love the Herbert Arnold torch, and I really wanted to be able to turn that knob and adjust it. And so when I got my Herbert Arnold, when I got it tuned, the guy from Germany came and tuned it for me, and his name was like Jürgen or something. I think he was the guy who like built all of them, and he didn't really speak English, but he had a translator there for him, and I was like, I could stand over him, and he tuned it for me, which I wanted it more like a GTT, like stronger. And I was like, hey, I want to be able to like adjust my torch. And he's like, oh, there was some guy from East Germany that like created this crazy thing with like ropes and like pieces of wood, and like, he's like, and it turned it. And I was like, really? And so I went back and like, I made a really rough rudimentary thing, and then like refined it again and again and again, and you know, learned eventually how to really refine it, and then did a few different versions of it. So now it uses a push-pull cable, and Griffin Tools now makes that. I licensed it to Griffin Tools. So
nice.
Super fun product. The neat thing about it, as opposed to like a GTC pedal that turns it like on and off, you can really adjust all the small flames, because at Herbert Arnold, you can scroll through all the flames with one knob, depending on how you have your pressure set. So it's really nice to be able to go in and like pinpoint, like say when I make this handle, I'll put it on, and then I need to go in and like work this weld. But like a normal GTT flame would be too big to work that, to get in and work that little crease. But the Herbert Arnold flame is perfect to get in there. And honestly, it's my favorite torch flame for doing attachments. It just like, it never bubbles the glass, and things just like, it's like mind control. It works so well.
It's probably adding a little bit extra oxygen while it's super hot and you're getting it in there. It's still also helping cooling it somehow or something.
Well, so the neat thing about a Herbert Arnold flame is that it's like a center jet of the 7-jet, the version that I have. It's like center is just oxygen, and then it's a ring of propane, and then it's a ring of oxygen, a ring of propane, so that you always have that sweet outer oxy flame, and it goes down to this really awesome micro flame that is fully surface mix, and it doesn't bubble the glass, so it's a little cooler than a GTT. and it just works great. That's what a lot of people use for drawing too, because you can have that stringer control.
Yeah, it sounds like I used to have a Carlisle, and that's what you would do sometimes is you would run your inner flame and then turn off your propane and just a little bit of oxygen
Yeah,
to get it just dialed in on that Carlisle.
I do that a lot on my GTT too. I have the Griffin rocket pedal that allows a little oxy bypass for the outer one, and I use that a lot. And it stabilizes and makes it that just I like the flame more. Yeah.
Right. There's something about it. That's a great tip because I don't think I do that on the GTT. So I'm going to go try it. I appreciate that. That's really awesome.
Do you use a pedal on your GTT as well?
Absolutely. I got a Griffin when they came out with
well, you can get the oxy bypass or the little outer oxygen kit for it too if you ever want to try that. It's pretty sweet. So that it lets a little bit of outer oxy
when
go.
you turn off your outside.
Turn off your outside. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that on the Carlisle where I cut it all up and did shit, but
yep.
So they already got shit for it for the GTT.
Yeah, yeah, they have that for the GTT, which works great. And I use that a lot. But like I was saying, like the way the Herbert Arnold doesn't, you can go to the way smaller flame. It's so great for attaching things.
And that's only a little or a smaller torch you're talking about. It's not their big giant one. This is
a big giant one. Yeah. So the dust pedals work with the 40 mil. So it can go to it's a 3-ring. It's similar to the Kabuki, I would say, in size. So it has 3 different stages, but it scrolls between all of them. But my favorite part of the Herbert Arnold is the smaller flames and the attachment and all that stuff. And when I want a lot of heat, I'm usually more drawn to a GTT. I have both on my bench at home, a Mirage and a 40 mil. And then at the shop, at Big Z's shop, I run a Phantom, which I really like the Phantom as well, honestly.
Yeah, I think GTTs are just amazing torches, and I really enjoy the Mirage. It's like a lightsaber. It just gets in there.
I love my Mirage. I'm still so impressed with the Phantom, though. I gotta say, for $1,000, like I almost want 2 Phantoms to be able to run like cross flaming, depending on, because it doesn't splash the heat as much on the edge, and you can run like a longer candle. They all have their good purposes, but I like that Phantom for the money.
And if you did 2 of them, would that be for a lathe, or that you would be somehow on a bench running 2?
Possibly for a lathe, or like have one as a hand torch and one as a bench burner, so that you can like hit the glass from the top and the bottom and not have to splash going off the sides. Or if you're like doing milli work and you don't want to like melt it off the punty, but you really need to like really get that one part screaming hot, or marbles, you know. So
right. What's your favorite technique in glass? I know you know a lot of stuff now. You got a lot of tools, skill sets, I guess. What's your favorite technique if you had to roll out one?
Let's see. I like incorporating opal and crushed opal. I love drawing scenes. It's really hard for me to pick one, but I'll name off a few. I love incorporating milli into it. It's super tough, and it's still a challenge to get it clean. Crushed opal or other opal is really fun to play with that COE issue, but have it work out. I really appreciate all the way opals are tumbled and finished and stuff, and that works out now. I like incorporating other random different stuff into glass. That's always fun. Fuming is a big one for me. Montage is still fun after all these years. I love just montaging up some sections.
And that montage is just different sections, right?
Yeah, just different sections added together. And then, reversing that sometimes or whatnot. Yeah, I mean, I love how this one, so this is kind of like a little road. It's probably hard to see in the thing, but road and some different, almost looks like sky to me and some different things. So.
Oh, that's a road right there. That little section is a tiny little road.
Yeah, so it's just like a reversal that I did. So that's that road trip theme that I've done forever.
Right. Beautiful,
so
man.
Put together. Yeah.
What's the biggest, or I guess the most complicated piece you've ever attempted, and did you succeed with it?
Geez, I don't know. When I moved back from Canada in like 2008, I was doing some fun stuff. I did a piece, man, I've done a lot of complex pieces that have turned out really good. Most of them have survived. Oh man, there's a lot to think about, but I did one called The Grower's Path that was really interesting. And it was like road trips and Rasta, and it had the bottom vessel was like a plant inside a bulb, like the bubbles came up around the plant, like, yeah, like cannabis type plant. And then the top was actually an inline bubbler this way that was an HPS bulb over the plant. And that one was pretty funny and fun.
Sounds like you really love the challenge. Talking about the opal encasing that stuff and just really the challenge of glass.
Yeah, well, just the challenge of learning something new every time. So it's kind of that skill stacking thing, but in glass, and it's almost infinite. You can just learn every time. Like, I did a lot of marbles forever. I did Lewis Wilson's first marble flame off in 2002. So I really immersed myself with marbles for a long time.
Yeah.
And working with Marble Slinger, he was definitely making marbles at that time too, and he did that flame off. So yeah, just so much to learn.
Yeah, and it just never ends. And then still you're learning every day, but still you're trying to keep you as an artist now. Do you find that as quite a challenge to keep finding new things and then twisting them in a way that is as recognizable as you?
Kind of. Well, I've really been trying to establish a brand, and so it's something that people can see. So with Surf Rat Glass, worked hard at type of a brand situation going on, and doing the stamp and showing that off. And then I've been doing some trade shows and working on my logo and different things and branding stuff that way so that people can see it. And then also bringing in the video editing and really being able to show myself off, show my work off as best as I can, because I realized that like now, so originally your work only gets seen by a certain amount of people. If it goes to a shop, it gets seen by some people, but now with social media, that's where it's going to be seen the most. And so to represent it the best you can, you are your best ally. So I've been trying to really like work hard enough to like be able to represent my work as good as I can. I film everything on an iPhone. I went out and got like the iPhone 13 Pro because I just needed to be able to put out a lot more content quickly. And so I worked on, buying cameras and getting a nice computer, and I wasn't putting out enough content quick enough. So,
it's really neat you mentioned that, because there is all this marketing and stuff. And with technology now, man, an iPhone or an Android, it's just the shit. You can have all these cameras and all this shit, but man, these new phones, they're so beautiful taking the pictures. They have all these little programs for easy film editing compared to like Adobe Premiere that takes a big computer, that tons of rendering time. It's just nuts.
Yeah, I was amazed. My last one was like an iPhone 8 or whatever, and it still had a pretty good camera, but the 13, the way that it processes it so fast, and this one has like 250 gigs of memory, and so it doesn't get all clogged up. And that was a big investment for me, but I felt like it was needed, and especially to be able to run my own website and do my own sales. And really, when the pandemic started, I was like, whoa, everything's going direct to consumer. And I still feel that shops have a huge important part to play in this, and they have had a huge important part. And I've sold a ton of stuff to shops, but I think it's important to have some direct consumer thing, because it was, for me, more motivating to put my work out there if I was going to be selling it on my website as well. So,
well, like you said, nobody can really represent it better than you. You have the vision, you have what you want there. While there are head shops that will represent a product well, especially in person, they're not video people. They're not going to be able to get it out there for you. So yeah, it's back to you.
Yeah, it's back to me. And like, I also I post pretty heavy on TikTok too. And luckily I got in that game pretty early. And so I have a decent little following there as well. And going on both TikTok and Instagram and posting at the same time has been beneficial, because people will share my videos from TikTok to Instagram, and it helps boost the amount of plays pretty incredibly. And it's been a good formula for me. And the big deal with that is no pipes. So originally it was pendants, because TikTok is, you know, for like a 14-year-old audience. So it makes sense, right? Like you can't, and people get confused thinking my stuff is pipes, which it's not. It goes
For the longest time, that's why I was like, man, that's crazy. You know, like you had, it's a double take because you nail it so good. It's a fucking banger. And then
right, yeah, or it's a bowl or it's a slurper or whatever. So but yeah, no pipes, no smoking on TikTok. And so that has been an interesting challenge, and it's fun. And I've learned that like the confusion has been a really good advertising thing for me.
well, you were around as well, 98. So you had maybe gotten just into this right after Operation Pipe Dreams. So you had at the beginning, I'm sure you had those like worries as well, like, what the fuck am I doing
Oh
here?
yeah, no, I was in Canada. I had already pretty established. I had coolliquid.com. I had built a website before Operation Pipe Dreams and stuff. And like, yeah, that I went through that whole deal. And luckily I wasn't a big fish or anything like that and didn't get caught up in that. But it still shut down so many things, and it was super hard on the industry. And, you know, again, it like ran us back underground and stuff. But I think that only made the industry stronger a little bit in the long run.
Yeah, I really love hearing these old time stories, you know, how it was I mean, you were bad if you were a pipe maker. You mentioned Glasscraft. You couldn't go there at the beginning and say what you were getting your stuff for. It was just a lot of negativity and then push down. And all of a sudden, kids are getting into this, blowing glass 1 year, and they're like this. And I don't know, the struggles have been real. So I really appreciate you sticking through the shit and allowing, you know, all of us to be here. Because if people like you didn't fight, man, this wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. It was like a juxtaposition in that, like, I was making mugs and cups and bowls and stuff for art as well, but right away pipes could sell so much quicker. And especially like in Gunnison, there were no head shops, so I was like literally going to the bar and selling pipes, and people were cool with that in that respect. And, you know, they were all like my college or school buddies or people that I knew that I, you know, in the town. But yeah, like if you told another glassblower that was a soft glassblower what you did, or even if they knew you did lamp working, they looked down on you. Everybody was like, oh, this isn't cool, this is whatever. And then, you know, lo and behold, when Colorado goes legal and everything else goes legal, they like finally the light bulb turned on in everybody's brain. They're like, this is like a multi-billion-dollar industry, you know, not only pipes but cannabis. And it's a huge industry that obviously, you know, was taboo and untapped forever. And now it's pretty tapped to where I think what we really need to fight now is import stuff like ripping off other artists. And that's not cool. I mean, we have this amazing industry here that was built by Americans for Americans. And I think it's really important to support that and buy American made work. The money goes right back into your community and into your country. And this is something that we're really missing in so many other aspects of American culture. And we have it right now. We need to hold on to it. And it's important and that's something that dispensaries don't do. And they don't like, or they, you know, they look at the bottom line. They're like, oh, buy local cannabis or whatever, but buy this Chinese glass too, so that you have more money to spend on your.
Or they really jack it up by giving a free pipe away that's a cheap one. And then that does take away from the bread and butter. Because, you know, like you said, a $60 pipe or so. The reality is, man, that is still a hot selling pipe, a $30, $40 pipe. So when you get a free one at a dispensary, you're not going to buy this $20, $30 pipe at a head shop anymore just because of that.
Yeah, I mean, we have this American craft movement, and there's still cheap American made pipes, and people can bang out stuff pretty cheap and do that. And we need to hold on to that, because we built this really magical, neat thing, and it was underground forever. And then finally, you know, with legalization, things came up and it's better. But I think it's super important to, and I hope that there are some, you know, dispensaries out there that still support local stuff. But man, like so many of them become corporatized, and you can't even go in and sell to them. And that's why another reason, you know, I think it is important for glassblowers to start establishing their brand, become unique, and sell in different channels as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's always going to be a battle, and you know, the corporations, they definitely will get you and take stuff away. It's just I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because there's a bunch of people working at those corporations too. So I don't know, man. It's just
Yeah, there are, but hopefully some of those people can make decisions to support American-made craft and American-made stuff, because that does put more money back into our whole local economy. And I mean, especially in Colorado here, we have the opportunity to keep our money local and to keep it, going through. Because as we go through, like, we're going to probably go through recession and other things like that. Like,
we're going.
Yeah, it's important to like keep our economy and our local things healthy, because that person like helps keep the restaurant that you like going, and the garden center that you like going, and that person buys like craft neat cutting boards and other stuff at the, it's just it's reciprocal. So super important.
It really is. I'm going to say this. I feel everybody needs to really look in the mirror, because while it's easy to say corporations did this, fuck no, it's us. It's the American people that go to the store and buy the cheap shit every time. And then it takes one shitty corporation or whoever to come in and sell it dirt cheap, and they go put out another one. So the only way to compete is go down. And we are the voters with our dollar. We get to vote on fucking everything with our money. And we've voted for all of this shit that we get. This recession, we wanted to not work. We wanted free money. And we're going to feel the pain now. I don't know. I'm scared. But
yeah, I mean, a lot of the corporations also got money for that too. Maybe more money than the individuals. So we'll see how it works out. But
it was all lobbied.
Yeah, I mean, you vote with your dollar every time. And I mean, I'm selling cups, right? So obviously, like, I get a lot of comments on my things like, whoa, your stuff's way too expensive, because people are literally used to going to Walmart and buying a glass cup. And I'm like, yeah, it's different. And I'm really just trying to market to the people that do see the difference, and they do. And it's an education piece, and it's similar to when I was up in Canada, and like I had to like educate them that there's room for like more than just $150 pipe. There's room for a $200, $300 pipe. And I mean, Marble Singer did a lot of education on that, because he went up, then right away he was doing headies, and he was part of that Glassworks Park crew, and they were doing a lot of stuff in Seattle and stuff. So he really brought up double bubblers, triple bubblers, and working with Bubble Man, all sorts of stuff. So it was an interesting education piece, and to see that happen.
Right. And that's why I do feel supporting your local head shop. It's a real good thing, because those local head shops, when you go in there, they can really show you this is foreign glass maybe, and this is an American piece glass. And these are why the two different pieces cost what they cost. And hopefully they can help explain that to the customer. Right? I feel a good head shop will do that.
And try and find that head shop that does a lot of local work and supports a lot of the local glassblowers. Because man, there are struggling craftspeople out there that you're making a huge difference in their life. Like literally, like, I mean, we talk about mental health awareness and things like that. Like certain business people, and for me for a long time, if I didn't have my ducks all squared away and rent's getting more expensive and everything like that, like you're making a huge difference in someone's life by buying local and by buying something from like a craftsperson locally. So
I don't think people realize the impact that has actually. It's just, I just bought this from another human or whatever. But like you said, you're helping for their rent. You're helping to do their dream. And not that we all don't have dreams, but it's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, you're making a direct impact on somebody, and you never know what they might invent down the line. It might be something you really love, or they're going to be reciprocally like buying something that you made if you choose to be a craftsperson down the line, or trading with you, or co-releasing a product, or whatever. Or you might just make a friend too. Like, it'd be pretty sweet to show up and be like, oh yeah, hey, I know that glass blower, and you're at the party or the festival or whatever. And so I think it's super important, and I hope people stick with it.
Oh yeah, me too. Do you have any hobbies outside of glass?
Yeah, tons. So like I said, the skill stacking thing. Um, I before always I've been doing art, but before glass blowing, I was a snowboard racer. So I've been snowboarding forever since I was a little kid. Uh, Grew up riding dirt bikes, so I ride a lot of mountain bikes and electric mountain bikes. I actually had an electric mountain bike podcast for quite a while.
Nice.
Quit doing that because I've just been going really hard on the glass, like full bore on my business. And I was like, again, with the like kind of just trying to do everything, it was a struggle because if I was doing like this podcast and other things, and it was harder to get sponsorship because it was so hard for a lot of these companies to have products because they're struggling to get their stuff from China and other things. And so I decided to really just go 100% on the glass. So yeah, dirt bikes, mountain bikes, electric motorcycles. Also went to school to be a health coach. So I know a lot about like nutrition and food and cooking. Obviously I like making drinks and food a lot. Avid gardener. So I have a huge outdoor garden that I work on.
Nice.
And some woodwork, and yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Oh, I've been doing a lot of like backpacking and, always been into cars and that stuff too.
Man,
Working
you're
on
all
setting
over
up.
in the creative world.
Yeah, man, I'm working on setting. I just bought like a cheap minivan. I'm working on setting that up to be able to kind of tour around a little bit. Hope to be able to go do some work with some other people and have like a little spot to sleep in, keep my mountain bikes in, things like that. So
Right. Explore and see this crazy world we're on, huh?
yeah, I mean, I love Colorado. I'd love to go out to the ocean a bit more. I have family in Florida too, so I go down there some.
Nice. Nice.
Definitely.
What can we look forward to in the future from you?
I'm gonna keep expanding on this theme. It's been really fun. Going to keep working on my video development and stuff. I'm excited to be working at Big Z's shop, so some more collaborations. Really excited to bring I think that the bangers were neat, but it's hard to like incorporate color into them. But I think with the bowls, it's going to be really fun to incorporate other people's pattern work and color into there and make some really like higher end pieces.
Right. The banger has to be, I mean, they're pretty much clear. So you're kind of.
They're pretty much clear. Yeah. I do accents on mine, and they do sell well, but yeah, I mean, the bowl I think really helps bring in a lot of spots for pattern work and stuff like that. Gonna keep sticking with that. Hopefully do a little bit of touring and a little bit of traveling, work with other artists in that respect. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I had planned.
Oh yeah. Do you find you still have the same love and passion today as when you started some 25 years ago?
I do. And so, yeah, it was about 22 years ago or whatever, but yeah, I'm going to be 45. I like it even more now in that I'm building a brand and building something like that. And it's rewarding to have my brand growing so fast. Like in November, I had 19,000 followers on Instagram, which, what is Instagram, but kind of a thing, and now we're up above 53. So it's more than doubled in like 3 months, which has been crazy, really cool. And not more than 3 months, 4 or 5 months, but that's been really fun. Did the DFO shot glass competition and put a collaboration in with Big Z on that, and we won, which was really cool. So yeah, that was really neat. I didn't even make it out to the DFO, but he was out there demoing, so he brought it out, which was really neat. And so yeah, it was fun. I do like doing competitions. I did the Las Vegas competition, the drinking vessels competition, and got third in that, which was cool. And I want to compete in it again if they have it.
Nice. So you definitely like competitions then. Do you like the pressure, or do you just, I guess, yeah, do you like the pressure?
I haven't done many where you actually make the piece on site.
Okay.
And I personally don't. I really like making stuff in my own space or other people's spaces, but like trade show, kilns that may not be hot enough and gas fluctuations and no ventilation. like it can work and it can be difficult. And so I would rather do a demo, I think, at that situation as opposed to a competition. And then I love the challenge of executing an idea. So I'm kind of like an idea person. And so I love thinking about an idea, having it come to life. And it's hard for me to explain what I'm thinking sometimes, but it's easier for me to just make it and show it that way. And so I've been really kind of excited about, coming up with an idea, concept for some of these competitions, and then executing and bringing them in. So.
Well, man, this was a super awesome time to sit here and hang out with you, man. I'd love to get to know you. It was awesome. And thanks a lot, man. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or did I miss anything? Or
No. Check out my Instagram account, Surf Rat Glass.
Yeah, where is? Sorry, that is one thing. Where's the best place to find you? And we'll have your Instagram.
Yeah,
you have a website.
surfratglass.com is my website. So if social media disappeared tomorrow, I'll still always have a website and a place where people can contact me and stuff. At Surf Rat Glass on Instagram and TikTok as well. And so those are good spots. Facebook, I do a little bit of stuff, but I feel like that's more difficult to get the word out on that one. So yeah, that's probably the best spot.